Here's something that should make you rethink the last time you put beans in a slow cooker. You set it in the morning, you walk away. You come back 8 hours later to what smells like a healthy, plant-based meal. And depending on what beans you used and what temperature your slow cooker reached, you may have created something that works directly against the cellular health benefits you were counting on. Not because slow cooking is inherently wrong. Because at the temperatures most slow cookers operate, specific anti-nutritional compounds in beans remain biologically active. And those compounds create a specific type of low-grade inflammatory signaling that keeps mTOR, your cellular growth switch, in a chronically elevated state, which is the opposite of what you want if you're using legumes as a longevity and autophagy support food. Here's what the research actually shows, and here's the preparation method that addresses it, not by avoiding beans, but by understanding the physics of what different cooking temperatures actually do to the compounds inside them. Most people assume long, low heat renders anti-nutrients harmless. But the thermal physics tell a completely different story. When you cook beans below a specific temperature threshold, you aren't just leaving inflammatory compounds intact, you can actually increase their biological activity. To understand why pressure cooking fixes this, we have to look at the two distinct molecules standing between your legumes and clean autophagy signaling, lectins and phytates. There are two main compounds in beans that are genuinely relevant to cellular health when inadequately addressed through preparation: lectins and phytates. They're completely different molecules. They work through completely different mechanisms. And they respond to heat differently, which is exactly why preparation method matters. Lectins are a broad family of proteins found in most plant foods, grains, legumes, nightshades, nuts. In their raw or inadequately cooked form, certain lectins, particularly phytohaemagglutinin, or PHA, found in highest concentration in kidney beans, can cause acute gastrointestinal distress. When they reach your gut epithelium, they bind to glycoprotein receptors on the intestinal wall and trigger a localized inflammatory response, releasing cytokines like interleukin-6 and TNF-alpha. Chronically elevated, those same cytokines are among the primary drivers of the low-grade systemic inflammation that keeps mTOR persistently active and autophagy harder to access. Here's the honest caveat, though. The studies linking lectins to intestinal permeability almost always use raw lectins at high, unrealistic doses. Properly cooked legumes are unlikely to cause lectin-related problems in healthy people. The key word is properly cooked, and that's exactly where the slow cooker falls short. This isn't theoretical, it's an official FDA warning. The FDA has directly linked slow-cooked beans to foodborne illness outbreaks because standard slow cookers operate between 77 degrees Celsius and 93 degrees Celsius. That is well below the threshold needed to denature phytohaemagglutinin, PHA. In fact, research shows that holding kidney beans at these low temperatures for hours can actually increase PHA toxicity up to 5-fold compared to raw beans. If you're making kidney bean dishes in a slow cooker without pre-boiling, you're potentially introducing a low-grade inflammatory trigger that runs counter to everything else this series has built. Phytates, or phytic acid, are the second relevant compound. Their mechanism is different. Phytates are negatively charged molecules that bind to positively charged mineral ions, iron, zinc, calcium, magnesium, forming insoluble complexes that cannot be absorbed in the small intestine. The consequence, even a mineral-rich bean preparation can deliver significantly less bioavailable zinc, iron, and magnesium than its nutrient label suggests if phytate content remains high. Magnesium is a non-negotiable cofactor for mitochondrial ATP production and AMPK activation, the direct drivers of cellular energy sensing and autophagy. Lower available magnesium, reduced AMPK activity, blunted cellular energy sensing. Phytate content doesn't create an inflammatory signal the way lectins do, but it quietly reduces the mineral availability that your autophagy pathways depend on, making the cellular maintenance you're investing in less efficient than it should be. Let's look at the temperature data because this is where the preparation method decision becomes clear. High heat cooking, particularly wet heat from boiling or pressure cooking, is the most effective way to destroy most lectins. Cooking raw legumes in a slow cooker or at a low simmer is not a reliable method for neutralizing lectins and can increase toxicity. Here's how different cooking methods stack up on lectin inactivation. First, slow cooking at 77 to 93 degrees Celsius is completely insufficient. Lectins remain biologically active and toxicity can actually rise. Second, standard boiling at 100 degrees Celsius is effective, but it requires a strict 30-minute hard rolling boil after a 5-hour soak to guarantee safety. Finally, pressure cooking at 121 degrees Celsius and 15 psi is optimal. The high-temperature, high-pressure environment eliminates lectin activity down to non-detectable levels in a fraction of the time. And on the phytate front, cooking in general helps decrease the effects of phytic acid, and pressure cooking consistently outperforms simple boiling in the legume literature. The combination of higher heat and shorter total exposure gives phytase and thermal breakdown more effective conditions to work in than an open pot ever reaches. For the compounds blocking your mineral absorption and therefore your mitochondrial efficiency and AMPK function, that difference is not trivial. And protein digestibility follows the same pattern. Soaking before cooking matters as much as the cooking method itself, and pressure cooking soaked legumes consistently produces the highest digestibility scores of any standard home preparation method. More bioavailable protein, more bioavailable minerals. Lower lectin activity. Lower phytate content. The preparation method is not a minor variable in bean quality. It is the primary determinant of whether the beans on your plate are working for your cellular health or creating low-level interference with it. Let's understand the physics, because it's what makes the outcomes so different. Water at sea level boils at 100 degrees Celsius. That is a hard ceiling for conventional cooking. No matter how long you simmer beans in an open pot, the water temperature cannot exceed 100 degrees Celsius. The energy you add goes into converting water to steam rather than raising temperature further. A pressure cooker changes this equation. By sealing the vessel and allowing steam pressure to build, typically to 15 psi, in a standard pressure cooker, the boiling point of water inside is raised to approximately 121 degrees Celsius at standard household settings. That 21-degree difference is significant at the molecular level. Lectin proteins are heat-sensitive. The rate of denaturation, the unfolding and inactivation of the protein structure, increases dramatically with temperature. At 121 degrees Celsius under pressure, the thermal energy available to denature lectin proteins is substantially higher than at 100 degrees Celsius, which is why pressure cooking achieves in minutes what boiling requires significantly more time to accomplish. And the moist heat environment under pressure is critical. Lectins are typically water-soluble and heat-sensitive. Exposure to water can leach lectins, and thermal denaturation from boiling or pressure cooking commonly inactivates them. The combination of elevated temperature, elevated pressure, and moist environment creates the optimal conditions for both lectin leaching into the cooking liquid and thermal denaturation of remaining lectins simultaneously. The result, pressure-cooked pre-soaked beans consistently show lectin activity below detectable levels in standard food safety testing. The same cannot be reliably said of slow-cooked beans, particularly kidney bean varieties. Not all lectins are equal in heat sensitivity. Assessment and review papers warn that lectins vary widely in heat stability. Certain monocot and oilseed lectins, such as wheat germ agglutinin, can be extremely heat stable, resisting ordinary cooking. Research isolating lectins from some plant species shows essentially no loss of activity even after extended high-temperature incubation. This is why the pressure cooking protocol is specifically most valuable for the common legumes covered in this series: kidney beans, black beans, chickpeas, lentils, and navy beans, where PHA and common bean lectins are the primary concerns. Wheat germ agglutinin and certain other lectins from non-legume sources are remarkably heat stable, making them a separate conversation outside the scope of home legume preparation. For the beans in your longevity protocol, pressure cooking delivers the most reliable and most complete anti-nutrient reduction available in a standard kitchen. Here's the elegant part of the pressure cooking story that often gets missed in the lectin conversation. While pressure cooking is more aggressive on anti-nutritional compounds, it is not more destructive to the beneficial compounds that make beans valuable for autophagy support. The resistant starch story is more nuanced here than the lectin story. As we covered in the canned versus dried beans video, the post-cooking cooling step is the primary determinant of resistant starch content, not the cooking method itself. Pressure-cooked beans that are then cooled at 4 degrees Celsius overnight undergo the same starch retrogradation process as boiled beans that are cooled. The cooling step is what matters for resistant starch. The cooking method determines anti-nutrient reduction and protein digestibility. Both steps are essential and they're independent of each other, which means the optimal protocol combines both. The polyphenol content of beans, the quercetin and anthocyanins we've discussed throughout this series for their AMPK activating effects, is heat sensitive. The shorter cooking time of pressure cooking means less total heat exposure compared to extended simmering at boiling temperatures. Research on polyphenol retention in various bean preparations consistently shows that shorter cooking times, even at higher temperatures, preserve more total polyphenol content than extended low-temperature cooking. Pressure cooking's efficiency is therefore beneficial from both directions. More anti-nutrient reduction, more polyphenol preservation in less time. The soluble and insoluble fiber that feeds your gut microbiome and produces the butyrate-driving autophagy gene expression, covered extensively in the canned versus dried and legume series videos, remains largely intact through pressure cooking. The fiber matrix that slows gastric emptying, blunts the post-meal glucose response, and keeps the autophagy-favorable insulin environment sustained is not degraded by pressure cooking's brief, high-temperature exposure. What pressure cooking removes are the compounds causing inflammatory interference. What it preserves is the structural foundation that makes beans a longevity food. Here's the complete pressure cooking protocol, optimized for maximum anti-nutrient reduction, maximum polyphenol preservation, and maximum resistant starch delivery through the cooling step. Step 1. Selection and soaking. Choose your bean variety based on the relevant series content. For methionine restriction and autophagy support, red lentils, these require no soaking and no pressure cooking. They cook safely in under 20 minutes at standard boiling, or black beans. For leucine threshold targeting in the muscle preservation protocol, chickpeas alongside a grain for amino acid complementation. For the highest polyphenol content, black beans and pinto beans. Soak dried beans, except lentils, overnight in cold water with 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar or lemon juice. This pre-soaking step is important even before pressure cooking because it activates endogenous phytase enzymes, begins the phytate reduction process through enzymatic hydrolysis, and reduces required pressure cooking time significantly. Discard soaking water. Rinse thoroughly. This removes water-soluble phytate compounds that leached out overnight. Step 2. Pressure cooking parameters. Add soaked beans to your pressure cooker with fresh water, a ratio of 1 cup beans to 3 cups water. Do not add salt or acidic ingredients before cooking. Both can prevent beans from softening properly at pressure. Pressure: 15 psi, standard high pressure on most home pressure cookers and instant pot-style devices. Temperature at 15 psi. Approximately 121 degrees Celsius, 250 degrees Fahrenheit. Timing by variety for pre-soaked beans. Timing varies by bean density and lectin content. Take a quick screenshot of this visual chart for the exact pressure cooking times across every major bean variety. Allow natural pressure release for 10 to 15 minutes before opening. This allows the temperature to drop gradually and reduces the likelihood of skin splitting, which preserves the fiber matrix and polyphenol content. Step 3. The essential cooling step. This is the step that converts your well-cooked beans into a maximum resistant starch autophagy tool, and it's completely independent of the pressure cooking itself. After cooking, allow beans to cool to room temperature. Refrigerate at 4 degrees Celsius for a minimum of 4 hours, ideally overnight. This cooling period initiates starch retrogradation. The gelatinized starch rearranges into resistant starch type 3, which passes intact through your small intestine and arrives at your large intestine for microbiome fermentation into butyrate, the histone deacetylase inhibitor that switches on autophagy-related gene expression. Pressure cooking followed by cooling produces beans with reduced antinutrients, higher mineral bioavailability from phytate reduction, higher protein digestibility, and, after the cooling step, meaningful resistant starch content through retrogradation. This combination is not achievable through slow cooking or standard boiling alone in the same time frame. Reheat gently below boiling before consuming to preserve the retrograded resistant starch. Position your pressure-cooked, cooled, reheated beans as your primary midday protein and complex carbohydrate source in the intermeal autophagy window between your morning protein pulse and your evening protein rebuild, spacing your legume-dominant meal to keep mTOR quiet between higher leucine protein pulses. The lower leucine load keeps mTOR below aggressive activation. The resistant starch feeds the gut autophagy axis through butyrate production. The reduced phytate content means the magnesium and zinc that AMPK function depends on are actually available to your cells rather than bound and excreted. The reduced inflammatory signaling from fully neutralized lectins means mTOR is not receiving chronic low-grade cytokine activation that would keep it elevated regardless of your amino acid management. All 4 mechanisms working together because the beans were prepared correctly. Here's what this video comes down to. The slow cooker safety issue for kidney beans is not a wellness myth. The FDA has linked slow cooker kidney bean preparation to foodborne illness, and even where prolonged low heat does slowly reduce lectin activity, it happens far too slowly to make a normal slow cooker session safe. Pressure cooking resolves this comprehensively. It neutralizes lectin activity below detectable levels. It outperforms boiling on phytate reduction and produces the highest protein digestibility scores of any standard home preparation method. It does all of this in a fraction of the time of any other cooking method. And paired with the overnight soaking and post-cooking cooling steps established across this series, it produces beans that are simultaneously lower in inflammatory antinutrients than any other preparation method, higher in mineral bioavailability through phytate reduction, higher in resistant starch through the retrogradation cooling step, higher in protein digestibility, preserved in their polyphenol content through shorter overall cooking time. This is not about pressure cooking as a lifestyle trend. It's about understanding the specific physics and chemistry that determine whether the beans you're eating are working for your cellular health or creating interference that undermines everything else you're doing correctly. The preparation method is not a minor detail. It's the variable that determines what your cells actually receive. Here's my question for you. Do you currently use a pressure cooker, or have you been using a slow cooker for beans? And if you've been slow cooking kidney beans specifically, are you going to change that after this video? Drop it in the comments below, because the replies to that question are going to be some of the most practically useful in this series. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.